The HOA built a train tunnel on my land, and they thought I wouldn't notice. They thought I'd roll over, sign whatever papers they shoved in my face, and let them take my property like I was nothing. But they had no idea that their biggest power trip was about to become the biggest mistake of their lives. Because when that tunnel opened, and that first train rolled through, something happened that changed everything. Something they never saw coming. Asterisk asterisk. Welcome back to HOA Stories. I'm Mark. I live in a quiet little neighborhood in Arizona. And when I'm not fixing up houses, I'm fighting HOAs that think they own the whole damn world. If you hate HOAs as much as I do, hit that subscribe button and drop a BOOHOA in the comments. Share this video with anyone who's ever been bullied by a board. Alright, let's get into it. It all started on a Tuesday morning. I remember because it was trash day, and the HOA patrol guy had already driven past my house twice. Slow enough to smell what I had for breakfast. I walked outside with my coffee, just trying to enjoy the sunrise, when the ground started shaking a little. At first I thought it was an earthquake, but then I heard engines. Big engines. The kind that don't stop for anything. I walked down the street, and that's when I saw them. Huge trucks. Construction workers everywhere. Metal beams. Cranes. And a giant hole being carved straight into the hillside that bordered my property. My first thought was, no way. No freaking way this is happening. Not here. Not on my land. I marched straight over there, still in my slippers, coffee in hand, ready to figure out what the hell they were doing. But before I could open my mouth, she stepped in front of me, the woman from the thumbnail, the HOA project manager. Yellow dress, clipboard, perfect smile, eyes that screamed, "I run this neighborhood and you're in my way." "Sir," she said, flipping through her papers like she'd been waiting for me, "you're inside a restricted construction zone. You can't be here." I laughed. Not a normal laugh. The kind you let out when life hits you in the face with something so stupid you can't even process it. "Restricted," I said. "This is my land." She didn't even blink. Not according to our development maps. That's when I felt it. The shift inside me. The anger. The disbelief. That weird calm rage that comes when someone tries to play you like you're dumb. I told her she needed to show me the papers. She told me she didn't have to show me anything. I told her they better stop digging. She told me the tunnel project was already approved. I told her they better unapprove it. She told me I could file a complaint. A complaint? Like someone had parked too close to my mailbox. Like this wasn't a full-blown train tunnel being drilled into my backyard. I went home, threw my slippers across the room, and pulled up every document I had. Property maps, boundary reports, old surveys, new surveys, emails, everything. And every single one said the same thing. The hillside, the dirt, the entire strip they were ripping open. It was mine. Legally mine. Black and white. Clear as day. So why the hell were they building? The next morning the construction got louder. The workers were now rolling in steel plates, mounting tunnel rings, and setting up rail foundations. And then I saw it. Spray painted in bright red on the ground. Right where the tunnel mouth was forming. Lot 27. HOA easement. I froze, because I knew damn well. Lot 27 was mine. It had always been mine. And we never agreed to any easement. I took pictures, videos, screenshots, emails. I called the city. They told me the permit came directly from the HOA. I asked how that was possible. They told me, it happens sometimes. Happens sometimes. A full train tunnel. Not a garden shed. Not a fence. A freaking tunnel. Something wasn't right. Something smelled off. Like they were trying to push this through fast. Before anyone could stop it. Before I could stop it. And I wanted answers. So I went back. This time fully dressed. Boots on. papers ready, and fire in my veins. The woman in the yellow dress saw me coming, and she already looked annoyed, like I was the problem, like I was interrupting some grand plan. "Sir, we already told you." "No," I said. "You didn't tell me anything. You lied. You built on my property, and I'm not leaving until someone explains how this is legal." She sighed. This man again, kind of sigh, and handed me a stack of papers. I scanned them fast, line by line, and that's when I saw it. The signature. A fake signature. A signature that was supposed to be mine, but wasn't even close. My chest tightened. My jaw locked. My mind went silent for a second because the rage was too loud. They forged my signature. The HOA forged my damn signature. To take my land and build a tunnel on it. I looked up at her, and she smiled. A cold, thin smile. Like she wanted me to explode. So she could call security. So she could find me. So she could make me the problem. But I didn't explode. I didn't yell. I didn't break anything. I just said one sentence. A calm one. The kind of calm that scares people. "This tunnel is mine now." She blinked. "What? If you forged my signature and built on my property, that means the structure sits on my land. And whatever sits on my land belongs to me." Her face dropped. Her lips tightened. She didn't have a script for this. She didn't have a comeback. She didn't have control anymore. I walked away. With the papers. With proof. With leverage. And in that moment, I knew something big was coming. Something life-changing. Something they would regret forever. But tell me, if your HOA built a full train tunnel on your property, what would your very next move be? I didn't sleep that night. Not even for a minute. I kept staring at the papers they gave me. The forged signature. The fake approval. The way they acted so calm. So smug. Like they expected me to just accept it. By the time the sun came up, I was already outside. Boots on. Coffee in hand. Waiting for the HOA to make its next move. And of course, they did. The construction noise started even earlier. The machines fired up. The ground rumbled. And workers swarmed the area like bees. But something was different today. Something was off. The workers weren't moving with the same confidence. They kept looking around. Whispering. Checking their radios. Like they knew something wasn't right. I walked down the slope toward the tunnel. Ready for round 2. And before I could even get close, the woman in the yellow dress stepped in front of me again. She wasn't smiling today. No fake politeness. No smug attitude. Just tension. Real tension. Like she knew they screwed up and the consequences were coming. "Sir," she said sharply, "you can't be here. Please turn around." "No," I said. "I'm staying right here. Until you explain why you forged my signature. And why the hell your crew is building a train tunnel on my property." Her jaw clenched. Her eyes narrowed. And for a moment, she looked nervous. Not a lot, but enough. Like she knew she was cornered. "We didn't forge anything," she said. But her voice cracked. Barely noticeable. But I heard it. "Then show me," I said. "Show me the documents. Show me the approval. Show me when I supposedly signed away my land." She flipped through her clipboard. And I swear, her hands were shaking. Just a little. But before she could answer, a white SUV rolled up. Smooth. Clean. Expensive. The kind HOA board members love because it makes them feel important. Out stepped the HOA president. A man in a perfectly ironed shirt. Slick hair. That arrogant walk. The look of someone who thinks he's smarter than everyone else. He didn't look at the workers. Didn't look at the woman in the yellow dress. Didn't look at the tunnel. He looked straight at me, like I was the problem. "Mark," he said calmly, "I heard there was a misunderstanding here." "A misunderstanding?" I laughed. You forged my signature, stole my land, and built a damn tunnel on it." He raised an eyebrow. "Those are serious accusations." "Good," I said, "because I brought serious proof." I pulled out the real property maps, the surveys, the emails, the documents with my actual signature, and then the forged one, the one that looked nothing like mine. The HOA president stared at it, but he didn't react, not even a twitch. Instead, he said, "These documents appear legitimate, but the development is already underway. Stopping now would cost millions, and that's simply not possible." I stepped closer, so close he had to tilt his head back. "You think that's my problem?" The workers nearby stopped. Some pretended to keep working, but I felt their eyes on us, listening, watching, waiting, and then something completely unexpected happened. A loud horn blasted from inside the tunnel, echoing through the entire construction site. Everyone jumped, even me. The workers started yelling. Radios lit up, and chaos broke out for a moment. A train was coming, a full-on test train, already scheduled, already approved, already rolling through a tunnel, built on MY land, without MY permission. And the HOA president suddenly looked worried, really worried. I turned to him slowly. "So you scheduled trains, without knowing if you legally own the land they're on?" He didn't answer. The ground vibrated harder. Dust rattled off the steel plates. The woman in the yellow dress backed up, shielding her papers. Her calm fake confidence was gone. And then the train headlights appeared, bright, white, cutting through the dark tunnel, like a warning, like a giant metal reminder of just how badly the HOA messed up. The president stepped back, finally losing his calm. "What is that train doing here already?" he yelled at a worker. "It's the first test run," the worker shouted. "You guys scheduled it. We can't stop it now." I watched the panic, the scrambling, the desperate radio calls. And for the first time since this nightmare started, I smiled, because I knew what this meant. The HOA had made a mistake so big, so expensive, so illegal, that they were screwed. Completely. A train using the tunnel meant the tunnel was officially operational. And if the tunnel was operational, and on my land, then legally, the HOA had just built a multi-million-dollar transportation asset. For me, I didn't need lawyers, didn't need threats, didn't need yelling. All I needed was to let the HOA continue digging itself deeper. The train thundered past. The ground shook. The workers cleared out. The tunnel lights flickered. When it finally passed, I turned to the HOA president. "You built it. You used it. You activated it. On my land. Congratulations." I paused, letting the words hang in the air. "It belongs to me now." The woman in the yellow dress stared at me, eyes wide, mouth slightly open, like she realized what that meant. The HOA president swallowed hard. He didn't yell, didn't threaten, didn't try to bluff anymore. He just said, "We need to discuss this." I nodded. "Yeah, we do. And trust me, you're not going to like how this ends. But let me ask you something. If the HOA accidentally built a multi-million-dollar train tunnel on your property, would you let them panic a little longer, or cash in immediately?" The next morning, I woke up with a heaviness in my chest that had nothing to do with sleep. The HOA had pushed me into a corner, and judging from their boldness, they believed I had no way out. But what they didn't know was that a cornered man is often the most dangerous. My phone buzzed repeatedly, emails from the HOA piling in like digital threats. "Failure to cooperate will result in daily fines," one read. "Unauthorized structures on HOA property," another claimed. And then the last one, the one that pushed me from quiet anger into cold resolve. "We demand full relinquishment of the land immediately or legal action will proceed." I stared at the screen. My land. The land my father had worked his whole life to pay for. The land I had just begun to understand was more valuable than I had ever imagined. But I wasn't alone. The sheriff's quiet warning from the night before echoed in my head. They're hiding something big. If I were you, I'd make noise before they bury your rights completely. That was all I needed. The first counterattack. I drove straight to the county office, my folder of documents in hand. This time, the clerk didn't give me vague excuses. She recognized me immediately and sighed deeply. "Sir, I can't tell you much," she whispered, glancing around nervously, "but the land parcel you own, let's just say someone would pay a fortune to get their hands on it, and they already built homes on it without legally securing the rights." My breath caught. "So the HO already knows they messed up?" She nodded. "They're trying to bully you into giving up your deed so they can cover the mistake before the state audits them next month." Everything clicked into place. They weren't confident. They were desperate. That realization lit a fire inside me. Reinforcements arrive. On my way out, I ran into an older man with weathered hands and a sun-beaten face. He looked at me like he knew exactly who I was. "You're the guy with the land dispute, right?" I nodded. He leaned in. "Word travels fast. HOA's been playing dirty with a lot of us locals. But you," he jabbed his thumb toward my chest, "you have something that scares them." "And what's that?" I asked. "Proof. Paper is louder than their threats." He gave me the number of a retired land surveyor and attorney who lived on the outskirts of town. "He hates HOAs more than anyone you'll ever meet," he added. That was an understatement. When I arrived at the old man's property, he greeted me like he'd been waiting for this fight his whole life. Uncovering the HOA's biggest mistake. The man, named Carter, spread out maps, old deeds, and newly registered land permits across a wooden table. "Son, they messed up so bad I almost feel sorry for them," he muttered, adjusting his glasses. "Almost." He traced the property lines with a marker. "Not only is the HOA development built on your land, but their expansion also crossed into county-regulated buffer zones. If this goes public, they won't just owe you compensation, they'll owe the state." I blinked. "So what do I do?" Carter cracked a grin. "You do nothing, except stand your ground. Meanwhile, I'll make sure the right people get the right documents." He handed me a sealed envelope. "Don't open it. Just deliver it to the town planning committee tomorrow morning." I took it. It felt heavier than paper. "Once they open this," he added, "the HOA will realize you're not the one who should be scared." HOA panic begins. As if sensing the shift in power, the HOA president showed up at my house later that evening, this time without goons or board members. Just him. He knocked softly, like a man hoping to avoid confrontation. "Can we talk?" he asked. "Talk," I replied coldly. He forced a smile. "There seems to have been a misunderstanding regarding your property lines. If you're willing to sign a temporary occupancy consent form, we can avoid escalating matters." It was laughable. They were scrambling. "What changed?" I asked, leaning against the doorframe. His smile faltered. "Changed? Nothing changed." But his eyes said everything. The county must have contacted him. Someone leaked something. Someone warned them. Good. I stepped forward, lowering my voice so he couldn't misinterpret the message. "You built 47 homes on land you didn't own. And then you threatened me. Whatever happens next is on you." His jaw tightened. "This isn't over," he hissed. "No," I said. "It's just getting started." A night of realization. That night, sitting on the porch with a sealed envelope beside me, I felt something I hadn't felt since this nightmare began. Control. For the first time, I wasn't reacting to the HOA. They were reacting to me. But another thought crept in. One I couldn't shake. Even if I won legally, even if I got compensation, what would happen to the families living in those 47 homes built on my land? They were innocent. They didn't know they were part of a corrupt scheme. Was I ready to displace them? Was I ready to ignite a fight that would drag families into chaos? The wildfire analogy struck me then. Sometimes destruction wasn't revenge. Sometimes destruction was cleansing, forcing truth out into the open, burning away the lies people tried to hide behind. But was I truly ready to let the wildfire decide, as the sheriff joked? I stared at the distant rows of houses, my land beneath them, and felt a storm building, one that couldn't be contained much longer. If you were in my position, holding proof that the HOA illegally built 47 homes on your land, would you fight for every inch of justice, or would you protect the families who had no idea they were part of the HOA's corruption? The next morning, I woke up with a tension in my chest that I couldn't ignore. After everything that had happened, the survey stakes I dug up, the exposed fraudulent maps, the drone footage, the destroyed hillside, I expected silence from the HOA. Maybe guilt. Maybe panic. Maybe a polite little letter begging to work things out. But instead, they escalated. Hard. By 9 a.m., I heard voices outside, not construction crews this time, but something worse. HOA board members. Again. And they did not sound friendly. I stepped out to find 3 of them standing on my property, all wearing matching HOA polos, clipboards in hand. One of them, the same woman in the yellow dress, stood with a smug smirk that made my stomach twist. She held up a sheet of paper. "We're issuing you an official violation," she said, as if she were performing a rehearsed line. "You're obstructing authorized HOA infrastructure work. This is your second warning." I almost laughed. "Second? You mean the first one I tore in half because it was completely illegal?" She ignored that part entirely. "You need to understand," she continued, speaking slowly like I was a child, "this tunnel expansion is part of the HOA's approved master plan. You're delaying construction and putting our project behind schedule. The board can, and will, fine you daily." I stared at her. "Your project?" I asked. "On my land." She smiled sweetly. "After the acquisition, yes." And there it was again. Acquisition. The word that haunted every conversation, yet nobody could explain. I crossed my arms. "Show me the acquisition paperwork. Show me one legally binding document that proves this land belongs to you." Her smirk slipped, for just a moment. Then she straightened her clipboard and snapped. "It's all being finalized. You'll receive the documents soon." Which translated to, "We don't have anything." Behind her, the 2 other board members placed more stakes in the ground. New ones, bright orange, marked with T4 and T5. And these were closer. Much closer. "Hey!" I snapped. "Get those off my property." They didn't stop. Not even a little. One of them said, "Sir, this is within HOA development boundaries. We have the right to be here." I felt anger rising in my chest. "Show me the map." They just kept hammering those stakes in as if I wasn't even standing there, the same tactic as before. Pretend authority. Pretend jurisdiction. Pretend ownership. But now they were running out of excuses. And they knew it. I grabbed my phone and began filming. The moment they realized I was recording, everything changed. They stiffened. The woman stepped forward like she wanted to block the camera. "Sir, you cannot record us without consent." "Yes," I said calmly, "I can. Because you're standing on my land." Her jaw tightened so hard I thought it might crack. One of the board members mumbled, "We should call legal." The woman nodded sharply and stepped back. But instead of leaving, they huddled together, whispering. I could clearly hear. "He knows too much. He saw the maps. We need to issue the lien early. If we file first, he won't be able to dispute it." That last part hit me like a punch. They wanted to file a lien on my property as leverage to bully me into surrendering the land. I stopped recording and walked right up to them. "Let me make this clear," I said quietly. "You will not file anything. You will not step on my property. You will not send crews here. You will not hammer another stake until a court order tells me otherwise. Understand?" The woman's face twisted into something cruel. "You're only making this harder on yourself. The HOA always wins." Then they left, but not peacefully. One of the board members ripped a chunk of bark from a small tree on the way out, clearly just to leave damage behind. By noon, a new letter appeared in my mailbox. A single sentence. "Final notice. Cease interference immediately or face legal consequences." That's when I realized. They weren't scared. They were doubling down. And something in me snapped. If they wanted a fight, they were going to get one, but not the kind they were expecting. I wasn't going to just defend my land anymore. I was going to expose every lie, every scheme, every illegal step they'd taken. And for the first time, I felt ready. Because I finally knew the truth. The HOA hadn't just overstepped. They had committed a crime. What do you think the HOA will try next? Fake legal action, forged documents, or something even worse? I didn't sleep that night. Not because I was scared, though any normal person should have been. It was because my brain wouldn't stop spinning. The HOA had pushed too far, and they knew it. The stakes they hammered in, the way they whispered about filing a lien, the smug confidence of that woman in the yellow dress, everything pointed to one truth. They were preparing a full-scale attack. And if I didn't get ahead of it, they'd bury me in paperwork, fees, and threats before I could even blink. So the next morning, I sat down at my desk, opened my laptop, and started researching everything I could about HOA liens, property fraud, and land disputes. And the more I read, the more disgusted I became. A lien can't be filed without proper documentation. A lien cannot override active ownership. A lien cannot be based on fabricated development rights. The HOA needed proof. They had none. But that didn't stop corrupt HOAs before, and it wouldn't stop this one either. Around noon, the doorbell rang. Never a good sign. I opened the door to find an envelope sitting on my doormat. No knock, no signature, no explanation. Just the same cheap HOA letterhead and a red stamp that screamed, "Notice of pending lien action." I didn't even open it at first. I just stared at it, my hands shaking with a mixture of anger and amusement. "They really did it," I muttered. "They actually did it." I tore it open. Inside was a single-page document, and it was one of the sloppiest pieces of fraudulent paperwork I had ever seen. Wrong parcel number. Wrong acquisition date. Wrong boundary description. They even listed a previous owner. Someone who never existed. I almost burst out laughing. Then the doorbell rang again. This time, it wasn't an envelope. It was a person. A short man in a wrinkled suit, carrying a briefcase and wearing an expression that said, "I hate my life, but this is my job." "Are you the homeowner?" he asked. "Depends," I said. "Are you with the HOA?" He sighed. "Unfortunately, they asked me to deliver this." He handed me another envelope, thicker, heavier. I flipped it over. It said, "HOA legal, urgent." "Let me guess," I said. "More fake threats." He gave me the kind of look people give when they're forced to participate in something embarrassing. "Look," he said quietly, "I'm just a contracted attorney. I don't work for them full-time. I just deliver things. But, between you and me, something feels off. They wouldn't show me the full case file." "Interesting. Did they tell you about the land acquisition?" I asked. He shook his head. "No. They just said you were obstructing a development project." I raised an eyebrow. "On my property?" He blinked. "Your property?" "Yeah," I said. "The one they claim they acquired but can't prove." His eyes widened just a little. Not shock, more like confirmation. Like he already suspected something shady. "Well," he said, stepping back, "I strongly advise you to get your own lawyer." "Don't worry," I said. "I'm already on it." When he left, I brought the envelope inside and opened it. This time, it wasn't poorly made. It was worse. It was intentionally manipulative. Pages and pages of fabricated approvals, made-up HOA bylaws, altered plat maps, and even a fake signature from a county official. They weren't pretending anymore. They were forging. But what they didn't know was that overnight, I had emailed the drone footage, the old maps, the new stake locations, and the HOA's verbal threats to someone who actually mattered. The county land survey supervisor. Within an hour, he called me back personally. His voice was sharp, serious, and pissed. "That land is yours," he said. "The HOA has no easements, no permits, and no authority to build anything. And if they forged county documents, that's a felony." Finally, someone on my side who wasn't afraid of them. I asked. So what do I do? Do not confront them alone. We'll handle the legal side. But document everything. Film everything. Save every message. We may need all of it. Perfect. I'd been doing that since day one. Around evening, I heard loud voices outside again. But this time, it wasn't construction crew or board members. It was angry homeowners, the ones inside the HOA. I stepped outside to see a group of neighbors at the end of my driveway, holding HOA letters and yelling at each other. The woman in the yellow dress was there too, flustered and outnumbered for once. A man shouted, "Why is our HOA fee going up again? What tunnel project? What expansion? Why weren't we told?" The woman tried to calm them down. "This is all necessary infrastructure." "No, it's not," someone yelled. "You said it was approved by the county." "But I called the county, and they said this project doesn't exist." Her face went pale. A woman holding a stroller pointed at my property. "And why are you building it on his land?" That's when she snapped. "It is our land," she screamed. "The acquisition is pending." "For the last time," I shouted back, "show me the documents." Everyone went silent. The neighbors looked at her, waiting. She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. Nothing. She had no documents, no proof, no acquisition, only lies. The neighbors began yelling at her, demanding answers, demanding resignations, demanding accountability. She looked at me with pure hatred. "This isn't over," she hissed. But the difference now. She wasn't threatening me privately. She was exposed publicly. Everyone had heard her crumble. Everyone had seen her lie. And now the pressure wasn't just from me, it was from the entire neighborhood. That night, for the first time in weeks, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Momentum. Control. And the beginning of their downfall. Because the truth was finally catching up to them, and they couldn't outrun it anymore. Do you think the HOA board will collapse from internal pressure, or will they try one more desperate move to keep control? That night, I knew something was coming. Because people like her, people who build their whole personality around control, don't crumble quietly. They come back harder. They get uglier. They get reckless. And by sunrise, that's exactly what happened. I stepped outside with my morning coffee, expecting to see the usual mess, dust, machinery, crews waiting for instructions. But instead, silence. The construction site was empty, totally cleared out. No workers, no trucks, no drills, just a giant unfinished tunnel mouth on my land, and bright red tape wrapped around it, reading, "Hazardous. Do not enter. Property seized." Seized. Yeah. They really tried it. And before I could even wrap my head around it, she appeared, the woman in the yellow dress, marching toward me with two new board members behind her. One held a stack of paperwork, the other held a camera like they were filming some official inspection. She didn't smile. She didn't fake it. She was done pretending. "We warned you," she said. "And now the board has voted. This property is officially under HOA seizure until the tunnel development is complete." I stared at her quietly, letting the stupidity wash over me. "You know," I said, "it's impressive how deep you're willing to dig this hole. Even deeper than the tunnel you illegally built." Her jaw tightened. The man with the camera filmed everything, zooming in on her as if she was a hero in some HOA documentary. She held out a paper for me to take. I didn't. So she dropped it on the ground at my feet. "This is our final notice," she said. "If you trespass beyond the marked boundary, you'll be fined daily. And if you interfere again, you'll be sued." I laughed. A real laugh. A loud one. Because she didn't know. Not yet. Not about the county official. Not about the investigation. Not about the neighbors flipping against her. Not about the pile of evidence I had been collecting. I let the laugh fade before I spoke. "You done?" I asked. She blinked. "Excuse me. Because I'd love to show you something. Something you're going to enjoy about as much as I enjoy your emails." She scoffed. "We're not interested in." But I was already walking back to my house. And they followed, because control freaks can't resist knowing what they think you're hiding. I turned on the TV, pulled up my email, opened the video file the county supervisor sent me. A recorded statement. Time-stamped. Official. Undeniable. The video played. The HOA has fabricated permits. The documents they submitted are fraudulent. They do not have authority to build on this land. An investigation is now open. Their faces. Oh my God. I wish I could have printed those expressions and framed them. The man with the camera lowered it slowly. The board member holding the paperwork swallowed hard. But she, the woman in yellow, her face drained of every drop of color. This can't be real, she whispered. Oh, it's very real, I said. Want to hear the part where he mentions the felony charges? Or the civil penalties? Or the possible board dissolution? She backed away, shaking her head. You tricked him. You manipulated the county. This is harassment. No, I said calmly. This is what happens when you build a tunnel on someone else's land. She started pacing. This project is approved, she muttered. We have easement rights. We have internal votes. You have nothing, I said. And you know it. The two board members looked at her like they were seeing her insanity for the first time. One whispered, You told us the county approved it. The other said, You told us he was lying. She snapped at them. Shut up. Just shut up. We're still in control. But she wasn't. Everyone knew it, including her. Then, the perfect moment. My phone buzzed. The caller ID said, County Enforcement. Field Agent. I answered on speaker. Mr. Reynolds, the agent said, we're on our way to your address. We need full access to your property for the investigation. Her eyes widened. Her breathing changed. Her confidence cracked like glass. The agent continued, And please do not allow the HOA to interfere. They are not to set foot on your land. She stumbled backward like she had been pushed. We need to leave, one board member whispered. The other nodded and backed away. But she wasn't done. Even cornered, she had to make one last desperate attempt. We're not leaving, she shouted at them. This is our project. He's lying. They're all lying. If we back down, we lose everything. She turned to me. You think you've won? You think this is over? We will fight this. We will. But the sound of cars pulling up cut her off. County vehicles, official badges, clipboards, cameras, enforcement vests. They came in fast, 4 agents walking with purpose, heading straight for MY property line. HOA representatives, the agent said firmly, step back. You are in violation of multiple property regulations. She froze, struggling to breathe. Her entire empire crumbling in real time. The agents taped off the entrance to the tunnel. They took photos. They measured the land. They collected the fraudulent paperwork she had tried to weaponize. She finally whispered, This is my neighborhood. I run this place. But her voice was small now, scared, broken. And for the first time since this nightmare began, I felt the shift. Power slipping out of her hands, landing back into mine, exactly where it belonged. The lead agent turned to me. Thank you for reporting this, he said. You may have just saved your entire neighborhood. And the woman in yellow. She stood there shaking, unable to do anything, unable to stop anything. And she knew. She had lost. If you were in my shoes, would you let the HOA collapse naturally? Or would you go after the board members one by one? I always thought the ending would be messy, complicated, dragged out for months. But when corruption starts collapsing, it collapses fast. And that's exactly what happened the morning after county enforcement taped off the tunnel. I woke up to something I hadn't seen in weeks. Peace. Silence. No drills. No trucks. No shouting HOA inspectors walking around like mall cops with clipboards. Just birds. Just wind. Just my land. Finally mine again. But the real storm hadn't hit yet. Not until 9:14 a.m. That's when an emergency HOA meeting notice went out to the whole neighborhood. A meeting called by the remaining board members. Not her. That alone told me everything. The woman in the yellow dress was losing her throne. I walked down the street. Neighbors stood in little clusters, whispering, pointing, comparing letters, comparing complaints, comparing lies. And when I stepped inside the community room, there she was, sitting at the front table. But not in authority, not commanding, not smug, just pale, tired, hands shaking, eyes red, the weight of every lie crushing her shoulders. The room buzzed with anger. Murmurs, gasps, questions. Then one of the remaining board members, the tall guy with the camera from before, stood up and tapped the mic. "We need to address recent events," he said. "The county has opened an investigation. Documents were falsified. Protocols were ignored. Funds were misused." Every head turned toward her. Every eye narrowed. She didn't look up. Not once. "Effective immediately," he continued, "the board is voting to remove the HOA president from her position." Gasp. Whispers. Some people even clapped. And for the first time, she finally looked at me. Not with rage. Not with confidence. But with absolute fear. I didn't smile. Didn't gloat. Didn't say a thing. The vote was fast. Unanimous. Swift. She was done. Removed. Finished. When they escorted her out of the room, she didn't fight it. She didn't scream. She didn't pretend anymore. She just whispered, barely audible. This wasn't supposed to happen. But it did. Because she pushed. And lied. And built a tunnel on the wrong damn property. After the vote, the board called me up front. "I didn't expect that. Mr. Reynolds," the tall board member said, "we owe you an apology. You were right. The tunnel was illegal. The documents were forged. The HOA president misused authority. You stopped what could have been a massive disaster." Then something even crazier happened. He said, "We want to offer you full ownership rights to the tunnel construction zone." I blinked. "Excuse me." He repeated it. Slow. Clear. "The HOA no longer wants involvement. The structure sits entirely on your land. It is yours by law. You may do anything you want with it. Anything." And suddenly an idea hit me. A big one. Because the location, prime. The structure, already half-built. The land value, skyrocketing. Developers love unique projects. And this was very unique. I contacted a private company that handled underground storage, storm shelter conversions, and niche real estate projects. Sent them the footage, the measurements, the documents. Their response came within 48 hours. "We want it. Not for thousands. Not for hundreds of thousands. But millions." They bought the land. Bought the tunnel zone. Bought the development rights. And I walked away with the biggest payout of my entire life. Funny, right? The HOA built something on my land to destroy me. And that very thing became the reason I never had to worry about money again. A month later, I heard she moved away. Quietly. No farewell post. No goodbye gathering. Just gone. Her reign ended. Her kingdom collapsed. Her lies exposed. She went from queen of the neighborhood to the person everyone warned their kids not to become. And me. I upgraded my home. Paid off everything. Took a vacation. And every morning, I drink my coffee facing the hillside where the tunnel once was. The place that almost ruined my life. But ended up becoming the best thing that ever happened to me. Sometimes life does that. Sometimes revenge doesn't look like fire. Or fights. Or yelling. Sometimes revenge is just letting people destroy themselves. And watching quietly as everything they stole ends up coming back to you 10 times over. If you were me, would you have sold the tunnel for millions, or would you have turned it into something wild just to spite the HOA forever?